Welcome to the presentation for Teenage Obesity Intervention Strategies. I am Nadine Mumford, a marketing professional and public health student. Throughout this video, I will discuss the issue of teenage obesity and how the modifiable behavior of screen time engagement contributes to the health issue on a national level. From there, we will work through some health behavioral theories and theoretical constructs and look at how they assist in framing screen time and screen time interventions. And we'll look at the behavior's contribution to the widespread issue of teenage and adolescent obesity. I will then go over a few theory-based health interventions and discuss the shortcomings and successes of each. With those examples in mind, I will get into strategies for future screen time interventions targeting teens. Obesity is a rising issue in developing countries, and in just the last 20 years, rates have tripled. Obesity rates in teens are particularly concerning because if someone is considered obese in childhood or adolescence, there is an 80% chance that those people will remain obese into adulthood. Obesity at any age is associated with chronic and life-threatening issues like diabetes, heart disease, stroke, some cancers, respiratory problems, mental health issues, and more, ultimately increasing a person's risk for mortality and morbidity, making this a major public health issue. Teens are of particular concern because habits pertaining to eating, leisure time, and physical activity are developed at this critical time in a person's life. At 14 years old, currently, more than 1 in 5 kids is considered obese. You can see in the graph on your right that 26% of American high school students are obese, with those in the 9th grade at the highest risk. Kids today are less fit and less active than ever before. One major contributor to obesity is sedentary screen time, which is time spent inactive or sedentary in front of a screen. This includes activities like watching television, time on a computer, playing video games, and time spent on a smartphone or tablet. American teenagers spend 75% of their day inactive, with the majority of that time spent in front of a screen. The problem with screen time specifically is that it affects both energy expenditure by being mostly a sedentary behavior, but it has also been proven to increase energy intake, potentially due to the high exposure to unhealthy food advertisements. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that people spend no more than 2 hours a day in front of a screen. Today, American and Canadian teenagers spend 7 to 8 hours a day in front of a screen, way above the recommended maximum, and leaving little to no time for physical activity. There are several theories and theoretical constructs that provide effective insight into an American teenager's use of screen time and its effects on obesity rates in this population. The constructs of the theory of planned behavior recognize some significant risk factors for high screen time behavior. If a teen has a positive attitude toward screen time, they are at an increased risk of exceeding screen time recommendations. Social norms consist of how a teen perceives their peers or parents or other important others in their life to feel about screen time. So a teen may believe that their friends believe social media is an important part of their friendship. Finally, perceived behavioral control is the perceived control a teenager has over their personal screen time engagement. All of these constructs make up a person's behavioral intention, and if a teen's behavioral intention is more aligned to engage in screen time, then the teen's actual behavior will likely be high amounts of screen time. The trans-theoretical model is another framework that helps organize the risk and protective factors for teens. The model suggests that a person changes their behavior in stages. The pre-contemplative stage would be when a teen has no intention of changing the time they spend with screens. The contemplation stage is when a teenager is considering changing their behavior. It's in this stage that the construct of decisional balance comes into play, the mental weighing of the pros and cons of screen time. Teens might weigh social acceptance from peers as a positive outcome of high amounts of screen time, while they might see low amounts of screen time as ostracizing and fear that they are falling out of the loop. Once a teen has gone through the process of deciding to reduce the amount of time they spend on screens, they will enter the preparation stage. Here, teens would be preparing for other forms of entertainment and getting ready to engage in more physical activity, maybe buying a bike or books to read. In the action stage, the teens would be physically reducing their screen time and spending their leisure time doing things like exercising or reading a book. The final stage is maintenance, where the teenager has been consistently engaging in low screen time for over 6 months. This would demonstrate a lifestyle change that ideally the teenager will continue into adulthood. The social cognitive theory is another theory that is very popular for considering teenage behavior and sedentary screen time. Social cognitive theory makes the argument that a person's social environment, individual personal characteristics, and behavior all interact and influence each other. Two of the constructs that are considered risk factors for teens are self-efficacy and outcome expectancies. When a teenager has low self-efficacy, they do not believe in their ability to resist screen time and engage in physical activity properly. If they do not believe that they are capable of reducing screen time or increasing physical activity, then they are significantly less likely to try. Outcome expectations are a strong belief in the outcome of a particular action, that the outcome will have a particular effect. A positive outcome expectancy is when there is a positive value associated with the outcome, and a negative outcome expectancy is when there is a negative value associated with the outcome. When a teenager believes that reducing screen time will reduce their popularity among their friends, that is a negative outcome expectancy that makes a teenager less likely to reduce their screen time. I will now go over some of the theory-based health interventions and studies that have been effective at reducing screen time and increased physical activity. The first is a study using the theory of planned behavior to research the effects parents and teens have on each other's screen time behaviors. It also looks at their diet and exercise habits. The study was done with a questionnaire that asks teenagers and their parents to rate the level of truth to different statements about their health behaviors. So to measure attitudes around screen time, they were asked how much they agree on a scale of 1 to 5 with the statement, "I would reduce screen time because it's an important thing for me to do." They measured social norms with statements like, "I would engage in screen time because others would be upset if I didn't." Perceived behavioral control was measured with statements like, "I feel confident in my ability to reduce screen time." Finally, behavioral intention was measured with statements like, "I would reduce my screen time because I have thought about it and have decided that I want to." The results showed that parents affect their teenagers' behavioral intentions, while teenagers affect their parents' actual behaviors. This study supports parental involvement in any interventions regarding screen time. A 10-week intervention based on the trans-theoretical model called Fat Ain't Fat targeted adolescents. This intervention's goal was to reduce sedentary behavior, which was measured as screen time, as well as improving adolescents' diet and increasing their physical activity. This was a computer-based program that consisted of modules prompting intention formation, health guidelines, decisional balance information, prompts for barrier identification, and instructions on how to perform new behaviors. The program was successful in moving students through the stages of the trans-theoretical model, but unsuccessful at getting teens to the final maintenance stage. Another school-based intervention called Neat Girls targeted adolescent girls in low-income communities, a community that is at a particularly high risk of obesity. The intervention was based on social cognitive theory. It targeted self-efficacy and outcome expectations, outcome expectancies, and environmental influences like teacher, family, and peer support. The program was delivered by teachers who took part in a short training program. There was little to no effect on BMI, body fat percentage, diet, or physical activity. However, the program was successful at reducing overall screen time. The final study I want to reference is a review of 46 theory-based studies to determine the most effective constructs in predicting sedentary behavior and physical activity. 23 of the reviewed studies evaluated social cognitive theory. 12 evaluated the theory of planned behavior, and 2 evaluated the trans-theoretical model. The review proved that self-efficacy, outcome expectations, intention, and attitude were the most effective constructs to consider when designing a sedentary behavior intervention. Because I want to target teens, I believe it's also essential to target social norms. So an intervention of my design would involve social cognitive theory, the theory of planned behavior, and social health marketing. Kids have cited entertainment, family time, and boredom as the top 3 reasons for leisure time being spent on a screen. Studies have proven how parental habits affect the way teens spend their leisure time, so we will want to change the attitudes, social norms, and intentions of an American teenage population, as well as their parents. An effective intervention will also assist teenagers in the development of self-efficacy and outcome expectancies. A screen time intervention program will start in the school system. Like the Neat Girls program, we will do an in-depth training program for teachers. Then they can educate kids and parents about the risks of excessive sedentary screen time. Teachers will provide after-school exercise opportunities and teach kids how to work out at home, increasing their self-efficacy. Teachers will also teach hobbies and other activities that kids could engage in during leisure time. Because most leisure time occurs at home, we will want the program to work with parents. We will want to increase their self-efficacy in parenting around screen time. Parents will also get a monthly brochure detailing different family-friendly activities that will involve time together without watching television. Parents will also work with their teens to develop positive outcome expectancies for reducing screen time, like growing closer to personal relationships or being overall healthier. The final piece will be the social marketing campaign. This will utilize television advertisements and maybe even get a part in a television program. It can show relatable teens actually working to reduce their screen time and making an effort to spend more leisure time being active. This will target teenagers' attitudes. We will launch a social media campaign that will encourage teenagers to make active plans with their friends. Instead of asking friends to play video games, they could go for a run together or go kayaking. This will target the social norms surrounding teens. Billboards encourage teens to get outside or get hobbies would also be beneficial to change attitudes and social norms. As attitudes and social norms change, behavioral intention will change as well. I do not have any ethical concerns with this intervention. I am more concerned with how scalable the program would be. It's challenging to target a national population like this. Executing the program through the school system is essential to encourage maximum reach. I am also concerned about interest. Teens will need to be dedicated and interested in this program in order to successfully change their behavior. Parents also carry a lot of weight in their child's health behavior, so this interest will be impactful on the success of change. This intervention is targeting the individual, interpersonal, and institutional levels of the ecological model, but an intervention that targets the community and policy levels may have an even greater impact on screen time behavior. However, the majority of research on the topic has been on the individual, interpersonal, and institutional levels, and an intervention based on these levels is the most well-informed at this point. The final challenge of this intervention will be budgeting for the social marketing campaign. Television ads, social media marketing, and billboards all get very expensive quite quickly, so it will be important to set a budget early on. The final slides will detail the resources, studies, experiments, and other scholarly literature used to put this presentation together. I appreciate you listening, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions. Thank you.